You get a letter in the mail, maybe a postcard, and it says something like, free dinner, free education, learn how to protect your retirement. And there's a steakhouse name on it, a nice one. And look, I get it. Who's turning down a free ribeye? You go, you sit down, there's wine, there's bread, there's a guy in a nice suit with a laser pointer and a PowerPoint. And about 20 minutes into dessert, he says the sentence that changes the whole night. You will never, ever lose money in this. You lock in the gains. You never suffer the losses. No fees. And we'll even add bonus money to your account the day you sign. And here's the thing. Every alarm bell in your body should be going off right now. Because that sentence, you get all the upside and none of the downside, is the financial equivalent of someone telling you they've invented a cheeseburger with negative calories. It sounds incredible. It is designed to sound incredible. And the moment something in personal finance sounds that good, your job isn't to get excited. Your job is to get suspicious. This actually happened. Someone wrote in about it, a real letter to a real financial columnist. And they described the whole evening in detail. The free steak, the wine, the PowerPoint with the laser pointer, the slow build toward one specific moment, where the pitch goes from informative seminar to you'd be an idiot not to sign tonight. And I want to walk you through exactly what happened in that room, because once you see the trick, you will never not see it again. And by the end of this, you're going to understand fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, variable annuities, and the one sneaky chart trick that almost every single one of these seminars uses to make you feel like a fool for not signing on the spot. Here's the part that I think gets missed in most conversations about this stuff. It's not that the person at the seminar is dumb or that the people who go to these dinners are easy marks. It's the opposite. These pitches are specifically engineered for smart, careful people. People who've worked 30 or 40 years, built up real savings, and are now terrified of doing something foolish with it right at the finish line. That fear is real, and it's completely reasonable. The problem is that fear is exactly what gets exploited in that room. Hello, I'm Anne. Welcome to my channel. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. So here's how the pitch usually goes, step by step, because it is almost always identical, like it's coming off an assembly line. First, the guy puts up a chart, stock market, going back to around 1998. Up, down, up, down. .com crash, 2008 crash, COVID dip, and then, at the very end, a new all-time high. Looks like a roller coaster that, despite a couple of stomach-churning drops, ends way up in the sky. Then he puts up a second chart. This one's a boring 3% CD, a certificate of deposit. Steady, slow, a straight, calm, gently rising line. No drama, no drops. It ends up lower than stocks, but, and this is the part designed to surprise you, not by as much as you'd think, because it never had to claw its way back from a crash. And then, chart number 3, the big reveal, fixed annuities. And this line doesn't just beat the CD. In the version of this story that gets told most often, it beats the stock market too. It just sails right past it. And the room goes quiet because everyone's doing the same math in their head. Wait, so I could have had stock market returns with none of the stock market stress? Sign me up. Here's the problem. That chart is a magic trick. And like every magic trick, it works because you're not allowed to see what's happening behind the curtain. So let's go behind the curtain. The first sleight of hand is the starting date. Watch this. Why 1998? Why not 2010? Why not 1990? Out of all the years available to start a chart, the guy picked 1998 for a very specific reason, because starting there captures both the dot-com crash of 2000 to 2002 and the 2008 financial crisis, back to back, two of the worst stretches the stock market has had in the last 100 years. Packed into one single time frame. It's like reviewing a basketball player by only showing the games where he had the flu. Technically real footage, completely dishonest framing. If that same guy had started the chart in 2016 instead, here's what would have happened. The stock market would have crushed almost every fixed annuity out there, even after the COVID crash got mixed in. Same investment, same world, different decade, wildly different story. That's not analysis. That's a magician choosing which card you see. And this is the part that should genuinely bother you. Financial professionals know this. They are trained to know this. Picking a single cherry-picked window of history and presenting it as the truth about the market isn't an oversight. It's a sales technique. There's actually a guy in this exact industry, an annuity salesman himself, who's been blunt about how common this is. He's even got a nickname for these events: Bad Chicken Dinner Seminars. His joke is that they used to be at Denny's, and now that commissions have gotten so big, salespeople can afford to upgrade you to a steakhouse. And his actual quote on it is basically, if someone is buying you a $50 steak, you should be asking yourself what kind of commission they're making off you to be able to afford that. Sit with that for a second. The nicer the dinner, the more nervous you should be. Free meal paid for by your future returns. Okay, but let's actually slow down and get the vocabulary straight here, because this is where most people, completely understandably, get lost. There isn't just one kind of annuity. There are several, and the seminar guy is almost certainly blending two of them together to make his pitch sound stronger than it actually is. First, a fixed rate annuity. This one's actually pretty simple. You hand an insurance company a lump sum, and in exchange, they pay you a guaranteed fixed interest rate for a set number of years. Think of it like a CD, but sold by an insurance company instead of a bank, usually with a longer lockup period. Predictable, boring. Not the thing that's going to outperform the S&P 500 over 30 years. It was never designed to. Second, a fixed indexed annuity. This one's the slipperier cousin. Your money isn't actually invested in the stock market. Instead, the insurance company calculates your return based on how a stock index, like the S&P 500, performs. Picture it like a security guard standing between you and the stock market with a clipboard, watching the market's performance through a window, and then deciding how much of that performance he's going to let through to you. Some years, when the market does great, he only lets a portion of those gains through. Maybe there's a cap, say 6 or 7%, no matter how high the market actually climbed that year. Other years, when the market crashes, he closes the window completely, so none of the losses touch you. That's the safety. But notice what just happened. You didn't avoid risk for free. You traded away a chunk of your upside every single year permanently in exchange for that protection. About what that actually means over a long bull run. Say the market has one of those incredible years, up 25-30%. Your fixed indexed annuity, capped at 7%, captured almost none of that. Now stretch that same gap out across 10 or 15 years, across multiple strong years. And you start to see how a product that never loses can still end up dramatically behind a simple index fund that just rode out the bad years along with the good ones. The annuity isn't lying when it says you didn't lose money. It's just very carefully not mentioning how much you didn't gain. That's the core idea I want you to lock into your brain. There's always a trade. Always. If a financial product is protecting you from one thing, it is taking something from you somewhere else to pay for that protection. The insurance company isn't a charity. The math has to balance somewhere, and it balances on your potential gains. Then there's the variable annuity, and this one's a totally different animal. With a variable annuity, your money actually does go into the market, into separately managed investment accounts that behave a lot like mutual funds, which means real growth potential, but also real risk, real ups and downs, and historically, pretty notorious fees layered on top. This is the version that gets the most criticism from independent financial planners because the complexity and the cost can quietly eat your returns over time. Even the annuity salesman from earlier, the bad chicken dinner guy, has called variable annuities a bad fit for most regular investors. And finally, there's a difference in timing, too. Immediate annuities start paying you out almost right away, usually within the first year, in exchange for that lump sum you hand over. Deferred annuities are the opposite. You're not collecting yet. You're building, parking money now so it grows quietly for years before the payouts eventually kick in down the road. So when the seminar guy throws out one chart labeled fixed annuities and lets it imply all of that complexity at once, he's not simplifying things for you. He's hiding the seams. Now here's the statistic that should really stop you in your tracks. Historically, the stock market has returned somewhere around 8 to 10% a year on average, over long stretches of time. Fixed and fixed-indexed annuities are not built to compete with that. Full stop. They were never designed to. They're designed to trade growth for stability. Which, by the way, is a completely legitimate thing to want. If you are 68 years old, you've just retired, and the thought of a 30% market drop wrecking your retirement keeps you up at night, a guaranteed, steady, lower but certain return might genuinely be the right tool for you. There is nothing wrong with choosing safety on purpose, with your eyes open. But that's a completely different conversation than this product will beat the market with zero downside, which is what got promised at that steak dinner. One of those statements is an honest, useful trade-off. The other is a sales pitch dressed up as a financial miracle. And the fact that he needed a cherry-picked 25-year chart starting at one of the most convenient possible moments in market history just to make that miracle look real on paper, that's your answer right there. If the product were actually that good, he wouldn't need to be quite so careful about where the chart starts. There's one more thing tucked into that pitch worth calling out, because it's such a classic move. Bonus money added to your account the day you invest. Sounds amazing, right? Free money just for showing up? In reality, these bonuses typically come wrapped in long surrender periods, sometimes 10, 12, even 15 years, where pulling your money out early triggers steep penalties. It also often comes with higher built-in fees buried in the fine print, fees that quietly claw back more than that bonus is worth over time. It's the financial version of a credit card company waiving your first year's fee. They're not doing it out of kindness. They're doing it because they've already done the math on what they'll make off you over the life of that account. And they know the bonus pays for itself many times over. So, okay, what do you actually do with all of this? Let's make it practical, because I don't want you to just walk away thinking annuities bad, stocks good, and call it a day. That's not the lesson here. The lesson is sharper than that. Number 1, if you ever find yourself at one of these seminars and someone shows you a chart claiming to compare investment performance over time, ask one simple question out loud right there in the room. Can I see this same chart starting from a different year? Watch what happens to their face. A salesperson with a legitimately strong product will happily show you multiple time periods because the product holds up either way. A salesperson who flinches, changes the subject, or gets a little too smooth and reassuring all of a sudden, that flinch is the most honest moment of the entire presentation. You can take this even further if you want to really test the pitch. Ask whether the stock market comparison includes reinvested dividends, because a lot of these charts quietly leave dividends out, which artificially makes the stock market line look weaker than it actually performed in real life. Ask what the cap rate is on the indexed annuity, and ask whether that cap can change after you sign, because in a lot of contracts, it can. Ask what the surrender period is, meaning how many years your money is locked up before you can pull it out without a penalty. None of these are rude questions. These are the basic questions a financial product should be able to survive being asked in plain English without the salesperson needing to dodge. Number 2, separate the question of "is this product good" from the question of "is this pitch honest?" Fixed and fixed indexed annuities are not scams. They're legitimate tools that can make sense for a retiree who genuinely values guaranteed income and predictable, steady payouts over growth, and who's at a stage of life where another 2008-style crash could be genuinely devastating to their plans. That part can be true and useful for the right person. What's not true is that you get stock market-like growth with zero downside. That part is marketing, not reality, no matter how confidently it gets delivered between the appetizer and the steak. Number 3, and this might be the most important one. Always ask what you're giving up. Every single time someone shows you the safety of a financial product, your very next question should be, okay, so what's the trade-off? What part of the upside am I giving away to get this protection? Because there is always an answer to that question. There is always a trade. The only thing that changes from product to product is whether the salesperson is upfront about it or whether you have to go dig for it yourself in the fine print. And number 4, and this one's just simple, practical advice. If your retirement plan genuinely calls for stability and predictable income, and a fixed annuity actually does fit your specific situation, great. That's a legitimate financial decision. But make that decision after talking to a fee-only financial advisor, someone who isn't earning a commission off of which specific product you choose, and after comparing it side by side against a simple, low-cost, diversified portfolio. Not after a single dinner, a single chart, and a single very persuasive guy with a laser pointer. A fee-only advisor has no stake in whether you buy an annuity or not, which means their advice is far more likely to actually reflect what's good for you, rather than what's good for their commission check. One more practical habit worth building while we're on the subject. Never sign anything the same night you hear about it, no matter how good the deal sounds or how much pressure there is in the room to lock in the bonus before it expires. Take the paperwork home. Read every page. If you don't fully understand a sentence, that's not a personal failing. That's the contract doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is bury the trade-offs in language dense enough that most people give up reading and just trust the nice man in the suit instead. Don't be most people. Read the whole thing, or pay a fee-only advisor a couple $100 to read it with you. That's a tiny price compared to being locked into a contract for 12 years that didn't actually fit your situation. Because here's the actual truth sitting underneath this entire story. The real argument was never annuities versus stocks. That's a fake fight, a distraction dressed up to look like the main event. The real argument is informed decision versus pressured decision. And the entire structure of that seminar, the steak, the wine, the dramatic chart reveal, the room full of other nodding retirees, the polite pressure of a free meal that makes you feel a little obligated to at least hear the guy out. Every single piece of that is built to push you towards signing something before you've had time to actually think it through. So if you remember exactly one thing from this video, make it this. When something in personal finance sounds too good to be true, all the upside, none of the downside, no fees, free bonus money, that feeling of, wait, this seems almost too perfect, isn't you being naive or behind on the math. That feeling is your instincts doing their job correctly. Trust it. Ask the annoying follow-up questions. Ask to see the other chart, the one that doesn't start in 1998. And by all means, enjoy the steak. You earned it just by walking in the door. But read every single page of that contract before you sign anything. And never let a free dinner be the reason a major financial decision gets made in a single night. If this helped you see through one of these pitches, or if you've actually sat through one of these seminars yourself, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments because honestly, the stories are wild and they all follow the same script once you know what to look for. And if you want to actually understand how to build real, lasting retirement income, the kind that doesn't need a steak dinner and a cherry-picked chart to sound convincing, stick around because that's exactly what we're breaking down next.